So welcome to Storytime 49 and Storytime's 4th birthday today, which we're celebrating with lots of tea-themed things. There's some great tea themes. Oh, okay, yes. I think people in the Timmins household want to demonstrate their lights.
We want to give a round of applause for the 4th birthday.
All right, shall we have that? Very nice, very nice. That looks really good. There's a copy of The Brews That Bind on the scene. Very nice. I'm glad to see those have all made their way out. So I think that everybody has those now. Yep. Yep. Oh, quickly, I'll show you our cake.
Oh, no.
So, Lloyd has helped me with this by making 3D printing all the shapes, and then we cut them out of a big flat piece of cake and joined them together to make the teapot. But he did a very nice, simple, cake design. We were going to do it just with a round cake, and then he'd make me a spout and a handle and stuff. But we realized that if I used the full-size cake tin, it came out to about here on the plate. And I attempted some tea bag earrings, which are going to keep sliding down during the story, I'm afraid. I'm probably going to be adjusting them a bit because they're not properly attached.
You could try twisting the cord around itself.
Well, that's a good idea. Maybe if I do like this,
yeah,
then they'll stay put.
I did that in the handle so it doesn't slip on the floor.
Okay. Oh yeah, like you do to keep the tea bag on the teacup. Yes. So some great tea theme stuff, and there are a couple of dress ups going on in the Timmins house too. I can see an Albie down the end there.
Yes.
Albie and his lights. Oh yeah, the giraffe onesie hood is wonderful. And we've also, where's Broderick gone? Broderick the
Not really.
There he is.
Well. Yeah,
Oh, he's got his lead on. Yep. Very nice, very nice. So topics for our story today. And there have already been quite a number of requests for April. So when we do get to the end of this one, I'll go through what we've got so far, because there have been some put in the meantime. But for today, we had Forgetting the Vital Thing, Closing Times, Forgetting to Take Your Pet or Child Home from the Shops, When Your Appliance is Geriatric and Finally Has to Be Replaced, Computers That Can't Update Anymore, I Was in the Shower, The Changing Format of Data and Media, so the transformation from record to tape to CD to digital, Putting in Complex Applications, When You Feel Suspicious of the salesperson who says your device can't do the new things and is no good, Unusual Reasons for Muting the Microphone on a Call, and of course I've put tea in there because we are having a general tea theme. So a quick little introductory poem today is about that changing format of data. And I've used a prompt in this, which is from Elizabeth A. Poetry on Instagram, which was cassettes for the hell of it. I thought that went rather well with the changing format of data. We use cassettes for the hell of it because only a true tape can really be a mixtape. And we could. The old player recorder, calmly curling black film around playheads in the stifling dust-scented iron castle of the garage. I went back later, much later, rifling through old crates, records we couldn't play, brought because the art was nice, and rows of rigid plastic boxes with cassettes inside. The black film fading to brown and stretching so it sounded strange. Now we didn't have a cassette player either, and the tapes weren't as beautiful as the records, but they got to stay anyway. I guess the handwritten lists on the inserts were a kind of poetry in themselves. So this is a story called On the Line. Shen! Ned bellowed as loudly as he could, trying to be audible over the fan and the water. Can you write down what they're saying on the TV? He heard some kind of muffled response, which really just sounded like and hoped for the best as he finished rinsing out his shampoo. He was pretty sure he'd just heard something about the TV show Kids Corner looking for farmers to do guest star spots in a segment called Fun on the Farm. Ned could really see himself excelling at that. He loved telling people about farm life. Grease, Shen and Ned's new puppy, pushed open the bathroom door at this juncture, came wiggling through the steam with his oversized puppy paws, and stole one of the clean socks Ned had laid out for himself on the stool by the sink. Grease, put that down, Ned growled, squinting past a dribble of shampoo foam. Grease took little notice of Ned's request, but backed out of the bathroom, sock still firmly in his jaws and the dark spot on the end of his nose, which had earned him his name, quivering. Ned sighed, got out and got dressed in the clothes that remained on the stool, before hobbling out single-socked, with his one bare foot getting chilled by the floorboards. Shen was under the table in the living room, pulling out the old computer LAN cable. Ned felt a spike of panic. No, no, Shen, don't put it on the line. Shen wriggled out backwards, bumped her head on the edge of the table, and sat there in her overalls, rubbing her scalp. Why not? You have to go online for the thing on the telly. It's a digital application. You can't connect this computer to the internet, Ned exclaimed, switching it on. It will try to update, and then everything will stop, like that time when you plugged your phone into it. Shen crossed her legs and folded her arms. Well then, how are you going to submit the application? I'll do the work on the computer and then submit it with my phone, Ned declared, pulling a box of old floppy disks out of the bookshelf and inspecting the labels. Grease came in with Ned's sock, circled the table with his bottom end wagging, and dived out of reach back into the kitchen before Ned could make a lunge for him. You have to do a sample video to show the kinds of farm skills you could demonstrate on the segment, Shen informed Ned. Do you really think you'll be able to edit a video on this old thing? She gave the computer an affectionate pat on its chunky monitor box. Of course, Ned replied. One advantage of never getting updates is we still have the old Windows Movie Maker, free special effects and all. Shen raised a skeptical eyebrow. I don't think you need to put special effects in an educational farm skills video. Ned shrugged. You never know. They might like it if I use page-turning transitions or make it look like black and white film. He turned for the kitchen. I'll just grab a cuppa while it's booting up. Ned returned with his tea and his toast 5 minutes later, and squeezed the drink and food into the space between the computer box and the table edge. The computer was showing the screensaver with pipe-like rainbow structures that zigzagged in and out of view and appeared to vanish into the far distance. Ned wriggled the mouse and knocked over his tea. Ah! He shouted, running for the rice as the long-awaited cuppa dripped onto the floor and seeped around the keyboard. Ned packed the computer's sturdy base with a thick layer of basmati and waited. Meanwhile, Shen gave him her notes on what the application entailed. The list seemed straightforward, but Ned had some concerns about the required file formats. Hopefully it wouldn't matter that his versions of Word and PowerPoint hadn't received any updates in the past 6 years. or that he could only output his videos as WMVs. The even more difficult problem was with A, uploading ID for himself, and B, getting material photographed or filmed on his phone into the software to edit it. Plugging in a new phone via the old computer's USB ports tended to cause the computer to do things dangerous to its health, such as attempting to load all the files on the phone. Ned thought he could probably upload his ID directly into the application from his phone's picture gallery, but to be able to make his demo video, he'd have to get creative. Still, he had bigger problems. The last line of Shen's notes said, "Go to www.https://kidscorner_abc_farms.vleg2nl," or was that a 1? /apply for the full requirements, terms and conditions. Since the computer could not help him with viewing this fine print, Ned was currently attempting to copy out the link into his phone's browser app, his fingers persistently hitting the wrong keys on the small touchscreen keyboard. The phone wanted to help, which was unhelpful. So far, it had suggested that he might want 4 different YouTube clips from Kids Corner, the BBC weather site, a farming equipment store which he'd bought from on a previous occasion, or a grammar correction software package. Finally, Ned got the link typed in without clicking on any unwanted messages or mistyping any characters. And then, on the edge of hearing, he heard the telltale faint trickling sound of a puppy peeing somewhere he should not be.
Oh.
"Reese!" Ned leapt up from the desk, showering his chair and the floor in a new layer of rice confetti. When Ned returned from puppy pee cleanup and saying, "Outside!" repeatedly in a stern voice, the computer screen was all blue. He tried wiggling the mouse. He tried tapping the keys. He tried holding the power button in for 30 seconds. All to no avail. Ned sighed and unplugged the computer from the wall socket. He would have to take it to the IT store up the road. He already had a few videos saved on the hard drive that would make useful B-roll for his demo, but it looked like he was going to need help to get to them. For example, when he and Shen had first got their new tractor, Shen had videoed Ned driving it across the field for the first time. She'd used their old camcorder, the sort that took those miniature tapes. Ned thought he looked very impressive driving the tractor, and this piece of video would make an excellent introductory shot for his demo. Unfortunately, he'd already connected the camcorder to the computer and transferred that video, and naturally assuming that he would only need the digital copy, had rewound and filmed over the tape.
Oh.
Thinking about the camcorder did give Ned 2 thoughts, however. Firstly, that he'd be able to use it to film his new material, and could safely connect it to the computer to access the files when he was ready to edit. Secondly, that whilst his computer would not successfully burn a DVD, connect to his phone to transfer the completed video, or upload the video to the application website, what it would do was connect to their old VHS video player via a special cable and record the finished product to VHS tape. There must surely be a way to use the tape to submit his video. Perhaps the people at the IT store would have a way to convert it. Ned hopefully packed the computer and all its accessories into a large box and hefted them out to the ute. "Come on, Grease," he called. "We're going on an excursion." Grease hopped into the passenger seat of the cabin, once again holding Ned's other sock. Ned had obtained a sock for his sockless left foot from another pair. No one would know anyway, now that he had his farm boots on. Ned and Grease arrived in the main street, and Ned parked the ute outside the hardware store. It never hurt to have a quick look at tools and replacement parts whilst in town. The hardware store also had a fence with railings and a little bit of grass and a garden at the front, which was a good place for Grease to be tied up, so that he could get some fresh air and convince passers-by to pat him or give him snacks. There was even a tin bowl of water for dogs whose owners might be busy for a while buying seeds and screws. Ned attached Grease's lead to the railings near the water bowl, stubbornly ignoring the fact that the puppy was still in possession of his sock. Then he told Grease firmly to stay and hefted the box with his computer in it down to the IT shop. A young employee looked up and smiled when she saw Ned and the old computer. "Good morning. Are you looking for the recycling centre?" she asked, preparing to give directions by looking up at the signs that hung overhead. No, Ned said hurriedly. "I'm not ready to give up on this old machine yet. I was hoping somebody could take a look at it." The young person blinked at him for a moment. "Okay. Well, what has happened that it isn't working for you?" "Well," Ned began, "I did spill some tea on it." The IT expert looked condescendingly at him. "But I did put rice around it straight away. I realise it might not be possible to get it working again, but there are some files I'd really like to get off it." The shop assistant, whose badge said Haley, peered at the back of the computer. "What operating system is it running?" "Windows 2000, Ned replied. "And it can't be updated. We tried once and it crashed rather spectacularly. I don't want a newer version either. It has the old Movie Maker on it at the moment, you see, and I'm hoping to edit something." Haley gave him an impassive look. "I don't think we can get the parts for this anymore. So if anything's shorted out from your tea spill, there probably isn't much we can do," she told him. Ned was unimpressed. He'd had friends at Haley's age who would have happily taken a computer apart and tried to rewire any broken connections. "We can try to access the hard drive and get your files," Haley went on. "That might take some time, though. Is there anything else I can help you with in the meantime?" Ned frowned. "Well, if there is any chance of fixing the dear old machine, I'd really like to find a way of getting files off my phone into it." Haley looked a bit exasperated. "I'm not very confident that we can get it running again, I'm afraid. Can you not normally plug your phone into a USB port?" She squinted at him, seeming confused. Ned felt cross. He knew what she was doing. She was trying to sell him a new computer before they'd even given old Worry a chance. She was just going to keep saying that Ned's old computer wouldn't be able to do things, when really it could. It just needed a little bit of help and a few extra steps. "There are too many big files on my phone," Ned explained patiently. "This poor old machine can't cope with loading them all." Haley looked pained. "That really doesn't sound as though the computer is working very well for you, even when it's working," she remarked. Ned glared. "But I suppose what you could do is use a computer elsewhere to get just the files you need off your phone and put them on a USB drive or something," she added, seeing his expression. Ned nodded at this. That would work. It would also be a way to get his finished video back onto his phone. Perhaps Haley wasn't entirely unhelpful after all. "We'll need to keep the computer overnight for one of our techs who's experienced with this era of PCs to try and access your hard drive." Haley scribbled on a tear-off ticket. Ned couldn't decide if this was ironic, because surely all their processes should be digitized. Or if Haley was making the assumption that he couldn't handle email or text reminders. "Come back in tomorrow and we'll see what we can do in the meantime," she told him. Ned took the ticket and made his way out of the store. He felt as though he'd forgotten something with the computer's weight no longer in his arms. Perhaps he'd feel better after a nice cup of tea. Tea could, in Ned's experience, make most situations better. Except for when you spilt it on your computer. Not so much then. Which reminded him that he hadn't even got his breakfast cuppa this morning. Hurriedly, Ned went across the street to where there was a small bakery cafe. He found himself a nice window seat, drank an Earl Grey, and ate a lamington. After that, things did seem a bit brighter. Ned emerged into the sunshine, stretching, and headed back across the street to the ute, unlocking the driver's side door. Clambering in, he drove back to the farm, whistling along to the radio and trying to decipher the lyrics of the indie tune playing on Triple J. When Ned came in, followed by 2 chickens, there was a laptop on the kitchen table. Trust Shen to have quietly come up with an alternative solution. Where did this come from? He asked, inspecting it. It's on loan from Abby, Shen replied, stacking newly washed plates precariously in the dish drainer. I looked at the website for the application, and it says that if you're shortlisted, you'll have to attend a video seminar where they'll tell you more about what it means to be on the show. I don't think old Worry would be able to run Skype, whether it gets fixed or not. Ned put the kettle on. Thanks, Shen. You're right, as usual. But if I can't use old Movie Maker, what am I going to edit the video in? Shen brought over some clean mugs. Oh, don't worry. That's why I got Abby's laptop. It's a Mac with iMovie. Ned sighed. Oh dear, I won't be able to find anything on there. How do people do things without right-clicking? Shen chuckled. I'm sure you'll work it out. And at least now you can actually film on your phone and not worry about getting it all off tapes and things. Ned poured hot water into the teapot. But I have some really cute video of when the chickens were chicks on those old VHS tapes and floppy disks. Shen rolled her eyes. Then she paused, setting down her tea on the counter, and looked around. Ned, have you seen Grease anywhere? Ned froze. When Ned got back to the hardware store, Grease was getting a belly rub from the store owner and seemed to have acquired a second sock from somewhere. Grease, Ned scolded, going over. Where did you get this? The hardware store owner shrugged. You never know what people are going to do in this main street. Seemed like someone decided their socks were too warm. It did look like quite a warm sock. It was long and thick and had red teapots printed on it. Ned looked around, but he couldn't see anyone with only one sock. And Grease growled when Ned tried to prise the sock from his jaws, so Ned gave up and let him keep it. Actually, he said to the hardware store guy, I've been meaning to get a longer hose since I'm here. But the man shook his head. Sorry, mate, special hours today. We're closing at lunchtime so the staff can watch the football final. I was just out front to bring the signs in. Ned scooped up Grease and sighed. Okay, come on, Grease, let's go home. Grease squirmed and jumped into the driver's seat. The next day, Ned had his morning cuppa at the kitchen table, away from any distractions except for Grease and the chickens. No way was he starting another day with spilt Darjeeling. He set off bright and early for the IT store, preparing himself mentally for the worst. Today would probably be the day old Worry was declared extinct. Ned left Grease at home this time, chasing the chickens while Shen thinned out the carrots and let them catch disturbed bugs. He pulled up outside the IT store and headed for the automatic doors, which didn't open. It took Ned a moment to register the closed sign. What? That made no sense. He peered into the gloomy interior, where vague signs of life suggested the store was preparing to open at some later hour. Ned looked at the white-painted list of hours on the glass. Monday, 8 till 5. Tuesday, 8 till 5. Wednesday, 8 till 5. Thursday, 9:30 till 6. Really? He sighed. Perhaps there was time for another cup of tea at the bakery. He crossed the street, following the scent of fresh bread and pastry, only to find himself faced with yet another closed sign. The cafe would not be open and a source of tea until 8:30 today. There was only one other option that interested Ned. He made his way to the hardware store. If he had to kill time, he could at least get that new hose at last. Several staff members waved at Ned when he walked in, his being a familiar face. He had a very interesting chat about tractors with one of them, and was recommended a new sunshade, which they had to help him carry out and tie down in the tray back of the ute. Then he spent a very pleasant 20 minutes choosing seeds and emerged just in time for a quick cuppa in the bakery before the IT store opened. Haley recognised him when he entered and waved him over. Okay, so the bad news is the motherboard in your old computer is gone, so I'm afraid we can't get it running unless you're willing to wait till a similar model is recycled at one of our stores. The good news is we have the files from your hard drive and they're on our hard drive here. So if you do want to purchase a new computer today, we can put all your old files onto it for you before you take it home. Ned nodded sadly. He'd been expecting this. I wonder if you can help me with a few other things first, he ventured, not quite ready to select a new device. I have a lot of other old technology at home that I need a way to convert. 1 hour later, Ned bustled out of the store with a converter plug for the VHS player, a portable USB-powered DVD and CD drive, an external power pack with a converter on it for the camcorder's failing batteries, and a special external floppy disk drive. He arrived home with his hardware and IT supplies and found Shen and Grease on their way in from the orchard with a wheelbarrow full of oranges. So, Shen inquired, what's the verdict? Ned set down his shopping bags and slumped his shoulders. Old worriers no more, he reported. But they did get the files off. He trailed off and groaned. Oh no, I forgot to actually buy a new computer. Shen shook her head at him. Never mind. We can use Abby's to order you one. You can always take it down to the store when it arrives and see if they can put your old files on. She took the oranges over to the big outdoor table and set them down. Just give them a call and ask if they can keep your files for a while. She spotted the hardware store bag. Oh, did you go to the hardware? Ned smiled at last. Oh, yeah, I've got some great new seeds. Did you get a longer hose? Shen asked. Aw. Ned dropped the bag by the door. That's what I went in for. Shen laughed. It doesn't seem to be your day. Come on, why don't we film some stuff for your video and have a look at the written questions? Ned went and got changed into his best stereotypical farmer's outfit, and Grease put muddy paw prints on his shirt. Working together, Shen and Ned navigated iMovie, put together a pretty good video. Ned answered the application questions and uploaded ID. He clicked through to the next section. The screen went grey and a small box popped up. It said, "You may not proceed any further without a police check for working with children." Ned groaned. They didn't say any actual scenes with kids would be being filmed, he complained. Shan, I have to go to the police station. The police admin officer said the certificate would be delivered by registered post within 5 working days. Luckily, there was a week and a half before the Fun on the Farm applications were due, so Ned completed what he could and made sure to stay home on the relevant days when the police check certificate might arrive. On Tuesday morning, Ned had a quick shower before 8 a.m, his cup of Earl Grey ready on the sink for when he got out. He was covered in soap and humming to himself when there was a loud knock at the door. Ned flew out of the shower cubicle, ran into the bedroom and put on the nearest article of clothing he could find, which was one of Shen's smart coats. It was not quite knee length on Ned, and he hoped it would pass for a short dressing gown. Attired in this and a pair of Crocs that he found by the back door, Ned chased down the postie. Sorry, he puffed. I was in the shower. I can tell, remarked the postie cheekily, eyeing the soap in Ned's eyebrows as he signed for the envelope. Ned took the certificate inside and copied the relevant information into his application. He hit submit, and then he went to rinse the soap off. When he returned, without socks because Grease had got them both this time, his email invitation to the video seminar was waiting. He'd been shortlisted. Ned hurried off to tell Shen, who made a celebratory apple and rhubarb pie, and they sat back at the table with morning tea while Ned perused the details. Gosh, he remarked, it's very early in the morning. Shen peered over his shoulder. I suppose they have to actually work on shows most of the day. Well, it won't matter. If they're just giving you information about it and what to do next, you can probably listen while you do other things. They'll just ask for questions at the end, so you don't really have to sit there the whole time. Just note down any questions you have and be ready to go on camera for, say, the last 15 minutes or so. Ned considered this. Yeah, that's probably true. So, on the day of the seminar, Ned set about his usual morning routine, only with Abby's laptop in tow everywhere he went. He made sure his microphone was on mute so that no one else who was listening to the information presented would hear him eating breakfast, or encouraging Grease to go for a wee outside, or running the shower. He had to turn Abby's laptop volume up to full for that, and balance his morning Darjeeling on the windowsill instead of the sink to accommodate the laptop. Ned was happily nodding at the descriptions of the kinds of things the show were hoping to film and rinsing away some facial scrub gel when he heard the presenter say something rather unexpected. So we thought it'd be good to hear from each of our candidate farmers quickly about the sorts of farms you work on and what kinds of demonstrations you'd most like to give on the show. First on my list is Ned Dangler. Ned, would you like to come off mute and put your camera on briefly and tell us about you? Ned froze, hair and water in his eyes. He quickly turned the shower off and pulled on his shirt and trousers and turned Abby's laptop so that the shower and toilet were out of view. His wet hair and the towel rail were a bit of a giveaway, but there was no time to lose. The presenter was saying, "Are you there, Ned?" And there was an awkward pause. Ned tapped the camera and mic buttons, and his wet, tousled head appeared in a thumbnail on the screen, which was, presumably, for everyone else, full size. Yes, sorry, hello, so sorry. I didn't realize we'd have to talk yet, so I was... Behind him, the wiggly form of a puppy pushed its way into view. Grease had a sock. The sock was what looked to Ned like a very long way inside the dog's mouth.
Oh.
Sorry, Ned tried to push Grease back out into the hallway with his foot. What? Whoa! Grease doubled up at his puppy waist. Sock evidently having gone a little too far in the direction that only food ought to go. Ned flailed for the mute button, tripped over the dog, staggered into the sink, and shook loose his cup of Darjeeling from the windowsill. It fell towards the sink, and laptop, tea mug, and Ned all went crashing to the bathroom floor. Ned waited a few moments before he braved a peek at the laptop. There was tea on the screen, and the video conference had disappeared. Probably just as well, since Ned was now sitting on the bathroom floor, broken mug and spilt tea around him, and a dog-sick covered sock by his right elbow. Needless to say, that was the end of Ned's aspirations to be on the television, which quickly went the way of old Worry. Abby graciously forgave Ned for the damage to her laptop, which Hayley at the IT store was able to fix. But she did have some very sage advice for Ned. Stay out of the shower. Keep puppies out of the room. Do not multitask tea drinking with anything else. And try to be familiar with the tech if ever you have a complex application on the line.
Yeah. My sister had a laptop that she didn't update the Windows for ages, and then eventually it started to do it itself. But then she stopped it partway through, and it was just trash. I tried everything I could to get it right, and I thought it actually needs to be. Somebody really needs to reinstall from scratch and kick it all off. But
Format, yeah.
I didn't have such an old version of Windows to do it, so to take it to an IT store. But they did fix it.
Wow.
Oh, good.
That was all so relatable, from the agony of Windows Movie Maker being taken off Windows to having had to try to convert a movie onto VHS from a CD for something that I did back in high school back in the day, to delay. We were just sitting here going, oh my gosh.
It's you again.
A bit of you too.
And the store owner insisting that you upgrade when you think you can still get something out of it. That's what I can relate to.
Yeah, and don't update the computer, it'll explode.
It was very sound advice, because to actually fix something up that old was just pouring money down the drain. Just to get the data off the hard drive is too hard.
Yeah, try and source a new part for something.
As an owner of an old blurring, I really did feel for Ned. I've been there. Every time someone moaned at him, I was like, no, it needs to be fixed.
Yes, I will admit to having one with Windows 98, which I was still using about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was the same computer I got when I was teaching at Wonder. It was one of the first laptops out.
I remember this laptop, yeah.
The first.
Wow.
Yeah, I used it a bit in high school. It did crash and lose work of mine. On occasion, I remember fairly clearly. But yeah, when we went to New Zealand on our honeymoon, we were on our way back on the aeroplane, and Lloyd had headphones in. He's doing something on the EPC, and the EPC literally went E. It just started like screaming, and Lloyd didn't know because he had headphones, and people were like looking around. Lloyd, the computer, sounds very unhappy. What's happening?
Death squeal.
I don't know. It seemed to still work for some time after that. It just
Metal screaming.
just made Yeah, maybe it was trying to sing, trying to do some hardcore vocals or something. Yeah, so we already have a number of requests for next time. So Mum and Dad came up with they'd seen some senior sporting team playing a game locally somewhere, so senior sports, or possibly sort of very amateur community sports. Dad says I have to look up something called It's a Knockout that used to be on the television over here. Trying to mimic animals. Mum had seen someone trying to explain something about crabs and how they can and can't move, and sort of doing this crab dance. When winning a prize is actually stressful. Mum's had some, again, rather
We're purchasing a new car, and the big bonus that we're getting rid of our old one. So Barry's got rid of his already, and mine will go soon. And when we get the new car, we get this bonus prize. So they've got this board with crisscross things, and it's got romantic, leisure, adventure, whatever. Why don't we do a romantic one? Yeah, all right, we'll do a romantic one. So we do the romantic one. We open the envelope, and it's a tour for 2 in the Barossa Valley, 3 hours or something, on the back of Harley Davidson motorbike. How is that romantic?
what you like.
Would you have thought, when we opened it, my face went hit my knees, that they would have gone, okay, would you like to choose again?
Do over.
Does anyone know some people in Australia who would like to go for a ride in Harley Davidsons? Please contact Mum. We had a few others at the start before we put the recording on today. A few people had some ideas. So one was these sort of your very basic or minimal knowledge of a second language, because Dad was doing some French, which consists of him saying n'est-ce pas in response to everything.
She was much the same.
You're responding in French.
Yes.
Yeah.
We,
Very good. Guinness. Andrew asked us a Guinness themed story, and the traveling toy or pet that sort of has an Instagram or gets photographed around the world on people's trips. And Tegan said maybe they could be competitors. So, the competitor to Instagrams. One's somebody's traveling teddy bear, and one's Broderick the cat from our previous story or something, which I think would be good fun. So maybe we're looking at sort of a travel one, because we've got second language use, a prize that might turn out to be a bit stressful, the sort of taking pictures of your pet or toy around the place, and the Guinness, well, maybe that means that you've gone to Ireland for some of it. Is there anything else that anyone would like to see included next time?
I want paper cranes in there.
Paper cranes. Well, that's an interesting one, because Emily and I were taking pictures of our paper cranes on travels.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a travel thing to me.
There's a connection there. Yeah. This one.
I'm still awake, by
Yes.
the way.
You're still awake. Well done.
Yeah.
This here is Mr. No Name.
Yeah, Mr. No Name. He's still there.
He's had pictures around the UK mostly, and he has been to Australia in my purse before, folded up. And Emily has a matching one.
Oh, it's Harmony Day tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
Tomorrow's Harmony Day, so they're doing Harmony Week right around Australia, 21st to the 27th. March.
I
So that everyone belongs. Which I quite like, but I think that works nicely with
on the topic of Harmony Day and things like that, which might not be a this or a next time topic, but I was just getting some perspectives from different people about the panic things like Harmony Day cause, because you know, you get the note or you don't get the note home that next week's Harmony Day, and then you realize the morning of they need something orange to go to school in, and then people were talking about being really smug and being organized a year in advance and then not being organized and something
things like book week and stuff as well, where like parents are expected to come up with the costume or like the full outfit in the color of the day or whatever.
Short notice bring a plate day or
related to that, I saw some kids and their parents at the shops the other day who were all dressed up for sports day. You remember how
yes
different team colors? So that would be a fun thing too, where like, you know, the parents or whatever have to use really strange things that they can find in the house that are the right color.
What do we have that's red because child's in the red team?
So they've got like tomato sauce on their face or something.
I've heard of
red pool noodle to a headband. So the idea of sort of stressful event days or like short notice sort of school things.
What is Harmony Day?
It's it's usually around multiculturalism, diversity, peace in the world, that kind of stuff. So it makes sense with the cranes.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It might be more Australian centric.
It is an Australian thing.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. And kind of this year is
when you have notice.
Exactly.
That joke.
That joke as a theme. Okay.
Yeah, that jokes are fun.
I can use your book to get some ideas.
The book that you like that I bought.
On the theme of travel, what about when you've been preparing, you packed the car, everything's ready to go, you hit the road, 5 minutes later, someone's left their phone at home, or their wallet, or their house keys.
Was that someone, Claire?
Someone, anyone. Could happen to anyone.
And you're in a hired van and you have to ring this number.
Do you not have the keys for the hired van?
Yeah, we lost the keys to the hired van, but only in a.
That's next level. Yeah.
You probably have too many things at this point. But someone saying it's catching just made me think of that phenomenon where someone forgets a word, and so they're trying to describe it to the other person, but then for some reason that person can't remember the word. I don't know if that happens to everyone else or if that's just me, but if someone's like, if someone's like, what's the word for, you know, blah blah blah, I'm like, oh no, I don't know what it is. Like, it's contagious. Forgetting words is contagious.
Yeah.
And then it coming back to you like 2 hours later.
Yes.
In the middle of a job interview.
I have done that with and the word we were looking for was weather vane, and just randomly 3 hours later they weren't even there and just went weather vane, and then went, oh my gosh, I said that.
Yes, all right, that's quite a list, so we'll leave the request there, but if anyone thinks of anything or sort of goes, there's a connection between those things, and that's made me think of something else.
Happen to you in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, you're like, oh, this is relevant. Yes. Well, I might. I every time I've done Storytime's birthday in the past, I've had a number candle for the number of years. And so this year I was just like, oh yeah, we've got plenty of candles. Of course, we don't have a 4, because we turned 24 back in Australia and neither of us has turned 34 yet. So I have no candles at all, actually, but I've got my a small tea light one in here, which I can light. I'm not sure if this is going to light, because it's got a very tiny wick, but I'll give it a go. And then we'll see what the lights in the Timmins household do if we sing.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
The match light, so it's different. Oh,
Yeah, it's oh no, it's done. It's done. I'm just gonna drop it in there.
yeah.
Oh, we'll be fine. It's inside the ceramic cup. Oh, yeah. I'm sort of afraid to sing in its direction because it's such a tiny flame. I might blow it out just with my voice. To sit right back. All right,
The
Tim's house. Since you're all together, you're on conducting duty because you can hopefully stay together with each other, and we can just follow you. Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Storytime.
Happy birthday to you.
Hooray!
Hey.
Hooray! That was like hooray and around.
And guess what? The candle blew out with the hooray.
No.
But it stayed alight for the whole singing bit, and the light in your lights were changing, which I was really impressed. How they went in time with the singing. I think we should do like the 4 claps.
Okay, ready? Quick claps. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to ask Margaret to make a wish and cut the cake because she was your first patron.
Oh, yes, that's a nice idea. Yeah, let's do that. I haven't got a knife for my cake.
Oh, just eat the spell.
Improvise. Karate chop.
chop.
Virtually do it.
Don't spill it on the
Yeah.
computer.
Way around. I want. Lloyd can probably hear me. I can hear him doing something with cutlery. We'll see if he brings me a knife. It might happen in a minute. It's going to work.
Oh, it did.
Yay!
Yay!
Got a round of applause for that. Thank you.
Day.
Right, so our next story should be, if we go back to our second Saturday of the month, on the 9th of April, which is not very far away. I don't mind giving that a go. Or we could
Go to the third Saturday.
the third Saturday, unfortunately, would
That's like-
be the day of the exhibition. Our next
Oh,
virtual
lovely.
exhibition is on Easter Saturday, 16th. So we wouldn't be able to put the story there unless we did it very early before the exhibition happens or something. That might be a bit too much on one day for me. So I'd be happy to try and aim to go ahead with the 9th if most people can make that as usual. And then if I'm really behind, we can always look at a different day over Easter, like do the Sunday over Easter or the Monday or something, because hopefully people have it off. So yeah, we'll say for now we'll stick with the 9th. Fairly shortly, when is it? Fairly shortly, daylight by the time we get to the 9th, daylight savings will have changed in both locations.
True. So will
Which
that
will
make
probably mean that it will make it easier.
Oh,
it will
great.
mean that let me I'll do a check on time zone converter and we'll find
That
out.
might work well anyway then.
So it might
We
mean
might
that
get
like
the
9
best of both
o'clock here
worlds.
is actually no longer quite so late for you.
Oh, there you go.
I'll
Okay.
go across April 9th and see what time it would be at 9 o'clock. Yeah, it would be 5:30
Oh wow.
at
Okay.
9 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
we don't need to go.
So that's a bit too early, yeah, because you won't have eaten. Lots of you won't have eaten. Yeah, or we can stick with the 6:30 for you. That will mean that it's like 10 o'clock for me, which would probably mean people over here would be more inclined to join in sometimes.
The next time.
We could
Yeah,
give
we
it a
could
go next time.
Give that a go. Yeah.
So keep it at 6:30 on the 9th of April, which
Hmm.
for me will be quite a lot later in the morning. We'll do that.
Okay.
So we'll try sticking with 6:30 for Adelaide, and that'll be 10 o'clock over here on the 9th of April. And we'll try and stick to that plan just for the next month and see how it goes.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for celebrating Storytime's birthday. I'm going to do a goodbye now so that we can stop our recording. But you're welcome to stick around and eat cake and chat after that in a more relaxed way. But we'll see you in April.
Thank you.
Yay.